Now, a Sky News investigation has found that 3D printed guns pose a growing danger on British streets. Police have described the threat from homemade weapons as an emerging trend, with their use appearing to be particularly prevalent among far-right groups. And scientists are warning that rising sea levels will force 200,000 homes in England to be abandoned in the next 30 years. The front pages and the halting of that flight to Rwanda dominates all the newspapers. The Metro goes with the headline, Rwandan air farce. The Daily Mirror calls it a cruel farce, describing the policy as a £500,000 stunt. The Daily Mail reports on the European Court of Human Rights blocking the flight, with a picture of a small boat dwarfed by a tanker in the Channel, asking where is the humanity in this? The Express says the Prime Minister is furious at the court's decision and now threatens to ditch human rights laws. That's added to by The Times, which says the court's ruling has left Britain on a collision course with European judges. The Guardian describes the decision as throwing the government's plans into chaos. Now, the Telegraph have the blocked flight as their leads too, while beneath the folds they have reaction to calls by the Scottish First Minister to hold a new independence referendum. The leader of the Commons, Mark Spencer, says it shouldn't happen until 2039. And the Daily Star says we may face a shortage of, wait for it, Cadbury's flakes for our ice cream later in the week. As the heatwave is coming, as long as there's strawberry sauce, I'll be fine.
Should we? And most of the front pages featuring the grounding of that first flight, or intended flight, deporting asylum seekers to Rwanda following that last-minute ruling about 10 o'clock last night by the European Court of Human Rights. The Metro calls it the Rwandan air farce, saying that the migrants due to be transported to Africa were actually waiting on the runway when they were told the flight was off.
Guardian suggests the plan was plunged into chaos as a result of the ruling and calls it a significant blow for the Prime Minister.
The Telegraph this morning, front page of the Telegraph, reporting that Nicola Sturgeon should be forced to wait until at least 2039 for a second Scottish independence referendum. Of course, she said yesterday that she was considering how she might crack ahead with one next year. The paper says that Mark Spencer, the Commons leader, told MPs there should be a 25-year gap from the last independence referendum in 2014 before it should be considered again.
And the back page of The Times describes the cricketer Jonny Bairstow's efforts as a blast after he scored the second fastest Test century by an England player during a spectacular win over New Zealand. Well, the paper also reports on fans' reactions to England's 4-0 thrashing by Hungary in the Nations League last night. So a real contrast there between the fortunes of the cricket team and the football team.
A blast of a different kind for Southgate, isn't
definitely,
it, this morning? Yeah,
definitely.
We're going to have John's going to look back at that match and ask, I mean, it's the Nations League, but with all expectations ahead of the World Cup, well, that's clearly we'd be hoping...
Fatigue was an issue, I think, perhaps.
What, for us?
For the fans?
For them?
No,
Okay.
for the players.
It's 18 minutes past 6. Of course we're fatigued.